Welcome to Evolved Radio, where we explore the evolution of business and technology. My guest today is Alex Sterk of Blocktalk, a podcast that interviews the people involved in the blockchain tech space. This is a fascinating area of technology that is quickly becoming recognized as carrying the power to revolutionize finance, automation, contracts, and countless other spaces. Some have even suggested that blockchain technology is the next internet. Many people have heard about Bitcoin, but most people don't know that the underlying power of Bitcoin is the blockchain, which has applications far beyond currency. This podcast is quite technical in nature, but I try to keep it accessible, even if you're not a blockchain tech nerd like us. So I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So welcome to the show, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Todd. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been super excited about the space for the last year. I've been doing lots of cool interviews and meeting lots of fascinating people. There's so much going on in this space. I really, I can't even grasp how much is going on, but I'm doing the best that I can, I guess.
Yeah, it's really a fast evolving space. I think on one of the podcasts that I listened to recently from you, a couple of people kind of joked about the fact that, you know, if you've been around for a year at all in the fintech space, it's pretty meaningful, and the sort of the evolution and how quickly the companies are coming in and sort of disrupting certain industries and really changing the space at a breakneck pace is really fascinating. So it's been fun to watch because it's ever evolving kind of on a daily basis.
Like I've said numerous times that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going to make for a great movie one day, but right now it's like the best TV show going on.
Yeah, very cool. So I guess, Alex, if you could, how did you end up in the Bitcoin space? How were you attracted to it originally?
Well, I first heard about it in 2010, but it was just kind of beyond my scope of comprehension. But it wasn't until I had someone approach me in like November 2014 asking what I knew about it that I really started to read more about it and understand really what it was. And I guess it was March, I kind of made the decision after going to the bank for numerous times and having them ask me if I was interested in meeting with an investor. I was like, well, I think I want to take investing onto my own abode, and I decided to actually get hooked up with an exchange and buy my first Bitcoin. And just the entire process of trying to get my fiat to an exchange, I knew like that this thing was like going to be big, and that not a lot of people are into it yet, just by how difficult it was for that initial transaction. And then within, I guess, 30 minutes of buying my first Bitcoin, I had bought 3 other altcoins, just like transferring off the exchange and getting into other currencies. So right away, I was fascinated with like how to diversify my portfolio and learn about all the stuff that was going on, because as fast as Bitcoin moves, all these altcoins are exponentially growing faster.
So for the people that don't really know the Bitcoin space, the altcoins, you know, Bitcoin is kind of got its foothold in the pop culture psychology. The altcoins are sort of other coins or other currencies that have been developed through the same ideology, the same technology as Bitcoin, but don't necessarily operate off of the same blockchain, as it were. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Like some Bitcoin purists have referred to altcoins as test nets, separate networks that have their own tokens and have their own developer teams and even their own value. So they have much more freedom to actually like trial new technology and new ideas and be a lot more bold with the way they're thinking and the technology that they're trying to develop.
Very cool. So the development of the altcoins is interesting. You know, the Bitcoin is the most sort of established cryptocurrency. What would be the motivation for creating those alternative coins? Is it that Bitcoin doesn't serve a certain purpose, or they're trying to advance the technology, or kind of all of the above, I guess?
I think Bitcoin's use case is probably to be the port for fiat, like for Canadian and U.S. dollars to come into the space. But these other currencies can do other things like smart contracts, with Ethereum being one of the newest ones. But there are more anonymous currencies that are developed for specific purposes like micro tipping or for gaming or even like resources like computer storage. So like you could actually buy a token that to pay what's called a farmer to store your data in on someone else's hard drive. And it's like a much better version of like the cloud. Like the cloud is just someone else's computer, but if you're storing your stuff with Apple, it's basically a big bank vault that's someone's going to want to hijack. But like the way this other currency works, it's kind of like you're storing little chunks of your data encrypted in someone's safe in their house. So there's multiple redundancies. It's far cheaper, and it's less likely to be compromised.
So that one that you're speaking there is Storage.io, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been looking at that one as well. And so there was a long time ago. There was a cloud storage. I don't know if you ever came across this. I believe it was called SimForm. And I discovered it when one of the D-Link or a NAS that I bought had SimForm built into it, and it was a similar idea in that you give up a portion of your NAS to share with others, and therefore you get free storage, and everyone kind of pools their storage and gets distributed. So I've always been really fascinated by that idea. So once I saw Storage.io come up, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of what I was looking at originally. One of the things, I don't know if you've sort of you've talked with these folks, so you may have some insight on this, but is it really feasible to store sort of that much information, or is it the cryptocurrency and the blockchain acts more as sort of a contract engine in the center, and then the storage is used, or does the storage actually sit on the blockchain? Because when I first heard about this, I was worried about the idea of storing that sheer amount of data inside of a traditional cryptocurrency was not really feasible in my mind.
Well, yes, a blockchain is very much just a ledger. So it's not really, the blockchain itself is not where you're going to store the data, but it can be used as a token to provide value to the network, like a medium of commerce. So it enables you to build these robust systems that don't require any human intervention and can be a lot more proven. So like there's another coin that I'm really interested in right now. It's Gridcoin. And they're basically the BOINC network, BOINC, where you can contribute computing power towards things like protein folding or looking for stars, like analyzing data. They basically created a way to prove how much you were, or taking that proven value of your contribution and then pay you out based on your contribution. So they bootstrapped this existing network of commerce, and they actually gave a token that is much more liquid and movable, and it doesn't exist on the BOINC's network. It's just it is like a decentralized network. So that's where you can see these tokens, like I guess bootstrapping existing economies and stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the cryptocurrency, the blockchain, the ledger, sort of all of these things are interchangeable in some degree. They're not necessarily the same thing, but that ledger acting as sort of the central record is a lot thinner, and then the traditional database functions and the storage still sit somewhere else, or the computing power, if it were, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so storage is they are developing a different way, or probably something very similar to that software that you had. It's just they're intertwining the cryptocurrency in a much more, I guess, modern way.
So obviously, you've been doing the Blocktalk podcast for a year. You must be coming across some really cool technology, some really cool people in that space. What are some of the other ones that have popped up that you find really fascinating?
Let's see. Most recently, I did an interview with Augur, which they're the Ethereum project for a prediction market. And then I also interviewed one of their competitors, Bitcoin Hive Mind. So prediction markets seem like they're going to be the next kind of big wave in how markets are going to be affected, like how traditional finance is going to be shifted. Because now you actually can have futures markets that are much more liquid and much more reactive to events, and actually like predictive of what's going on, because their manipulation is dialed back a lot more, just due to the fact that no one is in control. So prediction markets, Augur and Bitcoin Hive Mind being the two that I'm watching very closely. One of the other ones would be decentralized marketplaces. So Open Bazaar is one that kind of comes to mind to a lot of people, where they're kind of taking a model very similar to BitTorrent, where you host your store, and then other people can come to purchase from your store. So you have to go after individual users to shut the entire network down, which for a law enforcement agency, it's just not feasible. So the network will always exist. And then they have a competitor as well in the altcoin space, Syscoin, SYS, and they're actually putting everything on their blockchain. So it's a different way of approaching the problem. And in my opinion, I think there's a bit more incentives for them. And they were just added to Microsoft's Azure platform. So yeah, those are four projects that I recently interviewed that were very, very satisfying to talk to.
You mentioned Microsoft's participation in the cryptocurrency space, and they're going pretty heavy. They have a blockchain as a service on Azure. Is that the case? Is that the name of the service that they have?
Yeah. So it's essentially allowing their cloud services to be used for a lot of these blockchains. So say you wanted to host a node for Syscoin, but you don't want to tie up your computer all the time. You can now pay for their service and have one-click access to adding a node. So I can create one Syscoin node very easily. And so I think in this way, Microsoft is kind of getting a head start on the competition, like before Google or Amazon can set up their cloud systems to do this hosting for people.
Yeah, they're definitely ahead of the curve. I think a lot of people recognize that blockchain and Bitcoin, as it were, the cryptocurrencies as a whole are very much in their infancy. I've heard some people refer to the people that are involved in blockchain technology at this point are the fringe of the fringe. We're really not anywhere near mainstream adoption. So it is interesting to see that Microsoft has picked up on this space so early and are committing some resources to it. Without a sort of a lot of what you would call commercial application at this point. It's so much of this is still in development, but it really lends sort of credibility to how powerful the development of these technologies is going to be. A lot of the financial banks, hedge funds, lots of these guys in the financial markets are starting to recognize the development of fintech, and originally probably saw it as a bit of a threat to their business, but now are actually starting to see the value in it for the evolution of their business as well. So the mainstream adoption is coming, I think, a lot faster than certainly I would have recognized. It's been interesting to see that the pace of that adoption as well.
Yeah, and I think they really understand that they have a fundamental flaw where it's like the settlement time is an issue, where at the end of the day, the bank doesn't really know what they own. They would have to clear up all their books. So there's this huge lag that kind of settlement kind of goes across the system and has to be cleared through the top of the bank. So in a way, it is almost like a pyramid scheme of technology. Everything has to go through one central authority or one trusted authority. So this blockchain idea, this decentralized consensus, it's going to help a lot of people, maybe starting at the bottom, but now the guys at the top, they're even understanding the second and third tiers. They're like, oh, well, this is going to help us just as much. So the private blockchains will be coming, and they're already in development. I've already seen a TD business card that said blockchain consultant. So it's very cool stuff.
Wow, that's cool. So the one of the other spaces you mentioned, helping people sort of on the bottom or the top. One of the spaces that I've heard talked a lot about is the application for the fintech technology, really having an application in parts of the more remote world like Africa, Indonesia, more places that don't have sort of the more traditional infrastructure. I've heard use cases around in African countries where the cell phone providers actually function as a bit of a bank, and everything that they do for financial transactions is managed through their phone and comes out on their cell phone bill. Which is sort of this strange application of what's available and to act as a payment service. And I think that I've heard a lot of talk about how the blockchain could really be applicable in those spaces where people don't really have bank accounts at all, let alone access to sort of the savings network or the traditional civic bank infrastructure as well. And if they have a cell phone, and then they have some type of service, and if they have access to a blockchain, then it really lowers the bar for entry for financial services, and that's a huge opportunity, not only for the people but also as a business opportunity for those folks as well.
Well, I think in North America we take our banking so for granted, just how, I guess, cost effective and available it is for us, and how many options there are. But as you say, in places in the world like Africa, they're so hard pressed for banking and a currency that is usable and extremely liquid, that it's almost like things are naturally occurring. Like this is what happened with M-Pesa, where a company was allowing people to trade cell phone minutes, and then someone was probably at a fruit stand and didn't have enough money. You're like, well, what if I just gave you cell phone minutes? And at that point, a digital currency was just created. So this is the technology just bleeding through, and cell phones are just the first step. And I think what we're going to be seeing now is traditional banking is a lot like Blockbuster, and this thing is like Netflix. It's just going to take over way faster than anyone realizes.
So before we got to the formal part of the interview, you mentioned that you were involving yourself in some fintech application in the agro industry, which I found really fascinating. You want to touch on that one as well?
So I recently moved back from Vancouver to my family farm in Ontario, Canada. And my goal right now is to see how I can make the agriculture, at least the dairy industry, far more available and public. And I feel like the blockchain is probably a really good application for that, because right now the way dairy works in Canada is we are a closed system, quota-based supply management. So just like I mentioned that banks don't really know how much they own, there's this committee that manages how much milk is produced in Canada and is consumed, and they're trying to keep that ever fine balance through this quota management. So I'm thinking with smart contracts and the reporting and with all the parties involved in digital signatures, that we can have a really robust system that's fast reacting and actually is far more cost effective than this traditional system to manage our milk supply, which is, and this will stem out to other areas of food production. But just with my involvement in dairy, I think I'm poised for a great position here to actually do some changes to the space. I expect that one day you're going to see QR codes on your dairy products, and you'll be able to see the processor that produced it, and what milk truck it was shipped to, and what dairy farm it came from, and what day it was produced on. So you'll get a lot more information than your expiry date. So this is the information I'm hoping to bring forward, and there's a lot of people very interested in it. So it's happening quickly.
That's really cool. I'm sure you've heard of the product Provenance that's being built on Ethereum, right? The ethical sourced manufacturing and verification process.
Yeah, I'm actually currently in interview or email process to try and schedule an interview with them. But they are someone that I'm very interested in working with, because my technical expertise is only so much, and if I could find a team that I can work with and kind of lead the way, then yeah, I'm all for it. So provenance is definitely on my hit list.
Yeah, because what they're doing sounds very similar to kind of the components that you would want in the system that you're building. Is it provides sort of that value chain and all identifies and categorizes all of the providers within that chain. And I think there's a lot of really real world applications for that, because especially when it comes to food production, people more and more are aware of, they want to know where their food comes from. They want to know that potentially it comes from an ethical farm, that there's some certification processes that are happening. Is this actually free range? Is this actually organic? So the verification of that in some type of open system is just as applicable to food as it is potentially to manufacturing and to clothing and all of those other systems. So I see a lot of similarities between those. Is that similar to what you would understand?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because from my personal opinion is that I feel the whole organic movement is more of a marketing scheme than anything. There isn't enough accountability or publicity of like the actual stuff that's going on. Like the inspections that we get a random inspection every year, and I feel like if the public could actually see the results of those, it would be far more beneficial. But like food management is something that really needs to be robust and fast reaction. Like if we get a meat recall, you want to know exactly the so-called taint of where all the food has come from and what's been interacted in the chain. So immediately things can be red flagged very fast. And right now that all happens in the back end. But if it can happen on a more public forum, I feel like it's going to be a lot safer for the food. Like where, yeah, you might get a ding on your phone saying a recently purchased item is on an inspection list. So this is where the technology is really going to shine. The other portion is counterfeiting. So as you mentioned, manufacturing goods. Right now, it's $1 billion industry of counterfeiting going on in electronics and like consumer, like handbags and everything like that. So we're going to see it grow beyond food with just all the products that we have are going to have like this production trail and signatures from the original supplier. So you actually know what you're buying is an Apple iPhone and not like a Chinese knockoff or your Gucci Vuitton bag.
Yeah, it's cool. It's this is what I really found fascinating once I started to peel back the covers on at the time was just Bitcoin and discovering sort of what was underneath, first understanding, the cryptocurrencies and the technologies that underlay that, and then understanding the blockchain and the sort of the wider applications for that. It really sort of bent my mind, the potential change that this could bring to really anything. And that your use case is a perfect example of that. Sort of average conversation, you would think, well, farming, how would a cryptocurrency technology be applicable there? And the example that you gave is, we just went through kind of the list of, well, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. So it's really interesting to see how quickly any type of industry can adopt sort of this verification system and the use cases that can be established for those applications grows exponentially, limited only in part by the imagination and how it could be applied. And I think that's a big part of why this is such a growth space, is that you are only limited by your imagination. If there's some type of contract or ledger or any type of record for information, there's an application around the blockchain.
Yep, and I'll say again with the dairy industry, like being one of the more progressive industries in terms of technology. Like everyone right now has like these fitness trackers and everything. We've had ankle bracelets on our cows to track the temperature and movement around the farm to find out their health and everything for the last 8 years. So this is all like technology that was kind of pioneered in agriculture, and like it kind of trickles down to a more consumer level. So it might be that like the farmer is going to have more blockchain technology before the average consumer does. But yeah, this is permeating through everything. Like being that this is such a radical shift in the way computer science is done, the decentralized consensus is a massive change on the entire front.
Very cool. So the farmers originally brought us our food. Now they're bringing us our technology.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cool. So I guess what do you see for kind of the future? You know, you've been dipping into the industry and really sort of getting deep to understand the products and the projects that people are working on. What do you see sort of the course in the next couple of years and the progression of this technology?
I think it's going to be a lot in the public sector. So like government systems are going to be phased out, but also like well, what's something that we all interact with every day that we all share and what a lot of our taxes go to? Well, it's the roadways. So when you have the advent of something like self-driving cars coming along, where not only are consumers or sorry, residents of a country using these roadways more often, now you have much more companies. Um, so these self-driving cars are going to be these mobile computers, these Wi-Fi hotspots. They're going to be nodes. They're going to be miners. They're going to be reporting on all the events that are going on. So I said like these self-driving cars are probably going to end up being like police officers, like where you could get a tip of the ticket that you issued to that guy who just cut you off, or like you could be bidding on a parking space before you even get there to kind of have a rationalized demand. So like you're going to be seeing a lot more, I think, of this technology coming in terms of like highways and city streets, just the public sector roadways and whatnot. So that's an area that I'm seeing a lot of potential growth.
Sort of the ubiquity of the technology will really surround us, right? It'll be interesting to see how much of this has to be interacted with versus it just kind of happens in the background. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about the rise of the algorithm and how much of our lives are really determined by algorithms that are, for a large part, invisible to us. And I think it'll be interesting to see sort of the level of play that then has as the necessity for those algorithms really becomes an exponential growth. And how much do we have to sort of touch these things and manage them versus they just kind of really happen and we forget that they're occurring in the background.
Yeah, pattern building will definitely be a large portion of our recorded future. I guess we're coming into a time in human history where pretty much everything is recorded. Like 10 years ago, like celebrities were talking about the fact it's like, oh, so you mean everything I do now is going to be recorded and saved for all time? Well, they had that kind of epiphany moment of like, geez, like everything I do is going to be recorded. But now, like we as consumers or we as the average Joe are going to have this the same sort of recording of all of our lives, like where every moment is going to be calculated and measured. And through that, we're going to have a lot more measurement and predictability going on.
So, I mean, a lot of people would apply kind of these nefarious things to those ideas, right? That, the computers are always watching me and everything that I do is somehow recorded in some database somewhere, and the video, all my emails. And, there's this certain level of paranoia around how prevalent technology is in our daily lives. Do you think that becomes less of an issue as people just become accustomed to the idea that these things are there, these things have been there for a long time, and it's never really caused me any grief? Is it a generational sea change that our younger generation is just simply more comfortable with technology and its ever presence in their lives, or do you think that there'll be some issues there?
Well, this comes down to the question of the right to privacy, and I think privacy will always exist. Like if I go up north to some cottage with no technology with me, then yeah, I'll be completely private. But in our normal interactions, we're going to see a lot more of this recording to a blockchain or to the internet. But what I've really realized with Bitcoin, like a lot of people have now said like, oh, well, Bitcoin's not really anonymous. Everything is recorded. It's like, okay, yeah, so that makes Bitcoin a terrible thing for criminals to use because there's all this evidence. But it makes it a perfect thing for charities to use because it allows you to be so public and so build such a reputation. And if that's all the main issue I think humans have always had is building credit. Like reputation is just such a huge part of our lives, where we have to have this trust of built upon other people's trust. And if we can all, I guess, have like this built history, whether it's like our a conscious history or if an unconscious history, like it's going to benefit us all greatly. But the other thing I want to expand on here is being that this is public, now we're all on a level playing field. Now, like governments will be on this public blockchain. Like nefarious actors, like the people that we are looking for, they're going to be public as well. Because like what happened recently with the discussion over who was funding ISIS. Well, Russia and China go to the SWIFT network and say, we want to see the data. We want to see where the money's flowing. So like they have to request that data. But if we're all in this public space of recorded history, well, then we're all able to audit each other. And I think humanity as a whole will then identify the nefarious actors.
Yeah, it's kind of lends itself to the idea that, if you want to participate in the modern world, you have to accept what that means, right?
Exactly. And I know it seems like a very terrible thing to say, is like, well, I have nothing to hide, so therefore I don't care. We'll always have that some form of privacy. Like there will be the area in your house where I think you can have that privacy, or you'll be able to kind of escape. But at the same time, yeah, in the public areas that we live in the cities that we wanted to live and interact with each other, privacy it will be evaporated. It's an unfortunate thing to say, but there's no way you can interact with other people and not have privacy, and have privacy.
Yeah, it's it'll always be a bit of a delicate dance until, as some people suggest, we just get to the point where everyone knows everything about each other, and that's sort of the accepted part of life. I don't know that we'll ever necessarily get that far where it's kind of this true idea of, essentially telepathy, that, the hive mind idea. It probably goes pretty far down the slope of reaching that. That's arguably in the far future, but not too far future. It'll be interesting to see how cultures definitely adapt to that, right?
Yeah. Like we're already seeing kind of this radical shift in governance and in even how like religions are treated. But I think we're on like this kind of event horizon. Like we're in the middle of this exponential curve, right? Where it's coming from almost absolute zero and then going to almost absolute infinity. We're always on that kind of fringe, but I feel like this is kind of the halfway point.
And these are the reasons people find the space so exciting, is that they call fintech and sort of the cryptocurrency space the next internet, because it really has a fundamental capability to change the world, both from a cultural, a technology, and human interaction space. And it's not just about fancy internet currency. This technology will revolutionize computing and cultures, I think.
Yeah, Bitcoin is very much like a three-sided triangle. It's a revolution in politics. It's a paradigm shift in technology, and it's setting us on a better trend in terms of economics. Because this whole approaching 21 million, I think is kind of what we're going to be seeing with automation in our production, and like how the GDP essentially needs to stop, or stop growing. We need to find like an equilibrium in GDP. So this is like my general thoughts of Bitcoin. It's just three main things that it's going to kind of set us on the right path.
Well, it'll be incredibly interesting to watch, and we'll definitely follow the events in the news and keep tuned into the Blocktalk podcast for more insights on the projects and the people that are changing the world, as it were.
I'll actually mention that next Tuesday on March 29th, I am doing a podcast with Vlad Zamfir of the Ethereum project. He is in charge of the Casper fork. And I'm super excited for that. And then I have Augur coming back on for their beta very soon. Look up Blocktalk on YouTube, and you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Alex_Sterk, Sterk, and Blocktalk is Block_Talk. And yeah, that's pretty much my shtick.
All right, awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate the effort that you're putting into the industry, and it's great chatting with you. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, take care.